Benvenuto. Welcome to Cherry Hill Home Cooking. My name is Mark. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. As a matter of fact, I think it's just about 3 weeks. If that, maybe a couple days less than that. So I thought today we would do a couple of our favorite holiday recipes for sweet potatoes. So we're going to do two different recipes today. Wade will magically, separate them and, separate them into segments in case you don't want to watch both of them. However he does that. But I thought since a lot of the ingredients are the same, we might as well do them at the same time. Okay, so it's sweet potato themed. So the first thing we're going to need is sweet potatoes. We all know what sweet potatoes are, the difference between sweet potatoes and yams. All the, of course, the quantities and everything will be in the recipe, but that's a sweet potato. You could use yams too. Yams are a little darker, redder in color on the skin, and then they're white inside opposed to the orange, but you could use yams if you wanted to. To me, yams taste a little bit more milder, but maybe some people think it's the other way around. But anyway, so we need sweet potatoes. Now, the first thing I want to say is on the candied yams. So, I should have said that. We're going to make candied yams on the stovetop. Now, the reason I like this recipe a lot is, especially on Thanksgiving or any one of the holidays that are coming up towards the end of the year, oven space is always at a premium for me because I only have one oven. Once upon a time, I had a stove with 2 ovens, but no longer. Maybe Wade will buy me one for Christmas. Everybody put a comment on there that Wade should go buy me the oven I want and range I want for Christmas. But anyway, so we're going to do and personally, I think there is really nothing compared to a true candied sweet potatoes made on the stovetop. Like I've tried them in the oven. They come out different. But anyway, we're going to do a stovetop version. And then we're going to do, which many years ago, at least 6, 7, 8 years ago, I saw a sweet potato souffle or sweet potato casserole on the Food Network. And I believe this is a Trisha Yearwood's recipe. I'll check it to make sure and we'll put a link to it, but that's where I got this recipe from. And it's delicious. It's always a huge hit. So we're going to make candied sweet potatoes on the stovetop, and we're going to make a sweet potato casserole in the oven. All right, so as I said, these both recipes almost call for almost the same exact ingredients. 2 different methods of cooking as well. So for both of them, we're going to need some white sugar and some brown sugar. We need cinnamon and nutmeg. Need a couple pinches of salt. We need some vanilla extract. We're going to, of course, need some butter. Now, the souffle or the casserole calls for some milk. I only have skim milk because we normally only have skim milk, but in baking or cooking, I usually use whole milk, but I forgot to get it at the supermarket. So we're going to make it with fat-free milk. We need a couple large eggs, and we're going to need some flour and some fine chopped pecans because that's going to make the topping for our sweet potato mousse. Now, in preparing to do the mousse, the good thing about that recipe is you don't have to peel the potatoes. Very little prep for that. So now I already have some of my potatoes for the rest of the recipe in the oven cooking. So for demonstration purposes only, with the mousse, we're going to have some medium sweet potatoes, and you just want to poke them all around pretty good. I would recommend rinsing them off, giving them a good wash, because you are going to be handling them as you take the inside out. But just give them a poke all around. I could see him making a face over there. All right, and then we just got a half sheet, sheet pan, cookie sheet, whatever you want to call it. And normally, in the recipe, there's going to say there'd be 4 here, but since I've already got some in the oven, there's only one I just wanted to demonstrate. So then you're just going to put this in a 350 degree of course, preheated oven. And that's going to take, about an hour, depending upon how thick they are, maybe a little bit longer. But you want them to be fork tender. And we'll show you what I mean by that in a little bit when we take the others out. Because you're going to get them fork tender, then you're going to let them cool a little bit. All right, so I'm going to put this aside because we don't need that. I'll use that sweet potato for something else. Now, and I'm pausing so in case Wayne wants to cut in one of these, for our candied sweet potatoes. One thing I want you to keep in mind for this recipe, the recipe that's going to be written and on the website is for 4 to 6. I'm cutting this in half because it's just Wade and I here tonight. So when you make it, if you do it according to the directions on the recipe, there's going to be more. All right. So then this really, as far as the potatoes, so of course I've got my sweet potatoes that I've paled. All right. And if you try to get them about the same size, they're going to cook about the same size and so on and so forth. So, and it really depends upon how you want to cut them. I like to cut them, I say about 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch in little rounds. And of course, like I said, I said size, but depending upon how thick you cut them, they'll cook faster. I mean, you can slice them as thin as you want. You could actually make them into even cubes, but the thing with candied yams is you want them all to caramelize and get that nice candied coating. All right, so that's really all that there is to that. The paling of that is the hardest part of it. Before we cut and clean up our mess here a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about pans, or the pan that you use. All right, because a lot of times in my recipes, I'll say in a heavy bottom pan. I'm sure everybody can figure that out, but I just wanted to show you what my idea of a heavy bottom pan is. Of course, this is a Dutch casserole, Dutch oven, and this is cast iron. So this is a really heavy bottom pan, and you can see the bottom rim is a little bit thicker than the pan itself. All right, I love this pan. Go out and buy yourself one. I have used this so much since Wade got this for me. So that's a heavy bottom pan. This also is a heavy bottom pan, all right? This is a whole piece of aluminum here, and you can see, I don't know if you can see how thick that is, but that's a heavy bottom pan. This happens to be a non-stick pan. This is from my Magma pots and pans, which I can use on my induction or anywhere. I'm not going to use that today because I'm going to use this, but that's a heavy bottom pan. So this is a heavy bottom pan. This is a heavy bottom pan. Now these pots and pans I have had for, I think since I had my first, my own place, my first apartment. So, well, I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was, but it was a long time ago. This is Paul Revere cookware. Love these. I use these a lot. Stainless steel up here. It's got a copper bottom, but this I would not consider a heavy bottomed pan. I mean, that's the same thickness of the metal or the stainless steel, and then it's just got a copper coating on it. I love these, but sometimes for high temperatures and stuff, that's when you want to use a heavy bottom pan. And especially in the case of the candied yams or candied sweet potatoes, is we're not going to use a lot of water, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And you want the heat to be well dispersed and for the heat to be the same all over it. So that's a heavy bottom pan. Found that helpful, I hope. All right, so we're going to go right into our candied yams. My potatoes still got a few more minutes to cook, so we're going to get those going, and then we'll go on to the recipe for the sweet potato mousse. See you when I clean all this up. All right, guys, we've got our sweet potatoes all cut up. Now, normally, we always start with a warm pan, but in this circumstance, we want to start with a cold pan. All right, now, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but you're only going to use 2 tablespoons of water for this. Now, I've cut this recipe in half, so I'm only going to use 2 tablespoons. If I was making the full recipe, I would use 4, all right? So we've got 2 tablespoons of water, and we're going to put it in our pan. All right, so now I've taken my white and brown sugar and my cinnamon and salt and nutmeg, and I've just put it in this bowl. Don't have to worry about it being completely smooth because we're going to break this up in a bit too, but just makes it a little bit easier doing it like that. All right, and we'll add our vanilla. All right, so how we're going to cook our sweet potatoes, we're going to take them and we're going to do a layer, 1 layer. Yeah, I'll put in a couple smaller ones. So kind of just a layer on the bottom like that. All right. So then you're going to take half of your sugar, white and brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg. As I said, that's kind of all in there. And we're going to take that and we're just going to put half of it. We're going to cover our first layer. You could use light or dark brown sugar, whatever you prefer. I've done it either way. I don't really notice all that much of a difference. I'm using brown sugar, light brown sugar today. Then we can sprinkle half of our vanilla extract in there. And then we'll take our other layer, layer that right on top. Now we are going to use some butter in this, but that's not till the end of the cooking process. All right, that pan's a little big for just one batch, or half of the original batch. And then sprinkle on the rest of your sugar and spices. And you 1 other tablespoon or half teaspoon, in this case, of vanilla. And of course I spilled that all over. All right, then we're going to set our heat to about medium low. Oop, I'm going up. All right, on this burner, because that's about 250 for on this on the induction, but on your stovetop, whatever medium low is, the first couple minutes or as it starts to heat up, you might want to keep an eye on it. You don't want it too hot, so you really kind of want it at that medium low range. You want it bubbling, but not burning or boiling. All right, very important. Excuse me. We're going to cover this, but not tightly. We're just gonna. We're going to leave a good inch of it uncovered. All right, now that's going to take about 10-15 minutes to start to do its magic on this. And again, unless it starts to really bubble over, or it won't bubble over, but if you start seeing huge bubbles coming up, or if God forbid you hear something burning, but it's a good idea to stay close to it. All right, we'll see you guys back in about 10 minutes. Okay, we've been just about 13 minutes. All right, you can see our potatoes are bubbling in that beautiful, delicious candiness. Now, remember, we only put 2 tablespoons of water in there. Of course, what's happening is the water is really being released from the sweet potatoes, and it's doing its thing. So from 2 tablespoons of water, we've got all that liquid. All right, so then what we're going to do here is we're just going to kind of turn. We don't have to worry about the ones on the bottom. We're going to turn our top row so that we can get some nice candy coating on both sides. All right, so this is, at this point, it's been about 10 minutes or so. We've got our sugar and everything coated nicely on the second. If you can get the top into the liquid a little bit. All right, so we're gonna keep this on medium-low, and we're gonna cover it again for about 15 minutes, or not tightly cover it, slightly ajar, okay? So we're gonna do that for another 15 minutes. See you in 15 minutes. Okay, guys, I just wanted to come back for a quick minute. You can see those, it's just been about 14 minutes. Our brown sugar and everything is doing its magic, bubbling away in there. And now at this point, you can kind of give it a little stir. You can see that is nice and thick. And I want to check for the doneness. Yeah, those are just about done. Most of the ones, all of the ones at the bottom are definitely done. But I felt a little resistance in that one. So I'm going to give them a few more minutes. See you in a few minutes. Okay, guys, I think we are done. You can see how nice and bubbly that is. Yep, everything's nicely done. All right, now there's just one more step. You want to remove this from the heat. All right, and we want to cover it, and we want to wait a few minutes before we add our butter to it. So I'm going to cover it, and we're just going to put it off to the side for 5 minutes or so till that bubbling stops. Because if we put the butter in now, it's going to kind of be like when you make caramel. So we'll save that last little bit for the end. Come back when that stops bubbling, and we'll finish it up. See you then. All right, guys, you can see it's stopped that ferocious boiling. It's actually only been a couple minutes since we cut, but keep in mind, this was on the induction burner, so when you almost immediately, once you shut that off, and in the heavy bottom pan, that heat's going to dissipate really quick. So anyway, I've got my half a stick of butter, and I'm just kind of dropping it in there, little places, because we don't have to mix this at all. Of course, you could omit the butter, but I didn't say this recipe was low fat or low calorie. It's very high fat. Well, they're not too bad in fat. It's only got the half a stick of butter. Yes, and it is high in sugar. But again, guys, it's Thanksgiving. We eat this one day out of the year, maybe, a couple days with leftovers. So it's more than worth it. All right, believe it or not, that's done. I'm going to put my cover back on and let that butter melt, and then I'll plate it up, and we'll take a picture of it. Okay, guys, now we're going to go on to completing our sweet potato mousse or sweet potato casserole. Okay, so I've got my sweet potatoes all nicely baked, fork tender, in that case, nice tender. All right. Again, that's at 350 for about an hour. Mine took a little bit more than an hour because this guy's a little bit bigger than the others, but no big deal. All right, so now we're just going to cut that in half. All right, and we're going to take a spoon. It's still a little bit warm, but it's certainly, well, yeah, it's warm, a little bit warm. We don't want it, we don't want it piping hot because we're going to put some raw egg in there, but also we want to be able to handle it. So then you just want to go in and scoop all the insides out. You don't want any skin in there, but I like to try to get out as much of the flesh as possible. See if we can do one a little bit more cleaner for you this time. All right, so nothing to it. So I don't know about you all, but sweet potato is probably my favorite vegetable. We'll do one more. We're going to do all 4 of them, of course, but... Excuse me. So that could not be any easier, right?
Looks easy to me.
All right, so I'm going to finish up the rest of these, and we'll be right back. And this is going to go together so fast our head's going to spin. See you in a bit. All right, as you can see, we got all of our potatoes cleaned out. Now, I'm going to do this in this stand mixer because I've got it. I actually don't have a hand mixer. I need to get one. I got to write that down someplace so I remember next time I go to a store. All right, so everything's in here. We're going to get this nicely blended before we put the rest of our ingredients in here. So this is the filling. Now, I'm going to... Normally, I would do this in a 9x12 pan or some type of decorative pan. But since this is a full batch of this, I don't need that much. So I'm going to actually freeze. I'm going to try to do it in 2 pans. I'm going to freeze one of the pans. So we want to generously butter your pan and be very generous. There's not any other butter, at least in the souffle part. And you don't want it sticking to the sides. And I would say that's probably about maybe just a little less than a tablespoon of butter that I've used. All right. Let's give this one more little whisk to make sure it's, let me grab a spatula. I love the smell of sweet potatoes. And we'll just give the sides a scrape down. And that's good. So in here can go our vanilla. About 1.5. Our 1 cup of sugar. And let's get that moving and around in there. And you want to get that fairly mixed and get a little bit of air in there. And I'll give it a scrape down. And get our 2 eggs in there. And get it pretty well mixed before we turn it up higher so it doesn't splatter all over. And like I said, we want to get that all combined and we want to get a little air in there. It'll start to look a little fluffy, souffle-y. The reason I keep saying souffle or casserole, because it's not a true souffle. It's not going to do a lot of rising in the baking process. But also, if I remember correctly, in Trisha's video, she makes reference to that they use this as a dessert sometimes. It certainly could be, because it is sweet. We've always, when I've had it, we always have it, if I make it on Thanksgiving, or sometimes I do it at Christmas if we have a baked ham or something. And it also really makes a nice dish for brunch, because it's got that sweet savory. All right, so there you go, guys. That is pretty much what we're looking for. You can see it's changed a little color. It's got a little lighter, and it's not stringy, but it's, you know, it's not whipped cream either, though. All right, so I'm going to put this aside for a moment, because I'm going to change the paddle, or to the beater paddle. I had the whisk on before, and this is our topping. So we've got our brown sugar, our butter, our pecans, and our flour in here. And we're going to get that in there, and we want to get that combined. We want to get the flour and the pecans and everything kind of incorporated into the butter. Of course, that's room temperature butter, so room temperature butter will make the process go faster. I'm going to scrape down my beater there. I seem to got some butter catching on it. It's just about where I want it. Like I said, I don't want to see any big chunks of butter. It's perfect. Okay, so that's just about how we want it to look. We got one big piece of butter in there. Let's give him a little knock. Okay, so like I said, because I'm going to do 2 of these, which I'm going to put this one in the oven, I'm going to use 2 8-inch pans. Like I said, normally I would use a 12-inch. I actually use a oval casserole when I make this, but it holds about the same as a 9x12. So we're going to split these. Move this. This pan's a little bit more narrow at the bottom, and that one is more square. So we've got our oven preheated to 350. I was almost going to taste this, stick my finger in there and taste it, but then I remember this raw egg in it, although probably is fine. But it looks delicious, to me at least. So kind of get it, you know, as even as you can in your pan. Okay, and then we're going to take our beautiful topping and sprinkle it over evenly. Now you have a choice. If you were gonna, certainly you could make this a couple days ahead of Thanksgiving, a day or two. Put it in the refrigerator. It will hold perfectly for a couple days. Then you're gonna need about 40 minutes. You want to bake it till the top is brown, so it's gonna need about 40 minutes at 350. So I would, if say you were making this for Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's, or anytime, if you froze it, or if you had it in the refrigerator, probably take it out about an hour before you were gonna put it in the oven and kind of bring it up to room temperature. Because if you put it right into the oven from the refrigerator, the top is gonna get brown before the mousse itself is cooked, and we've got eggs in there. So, all right. Let's get them into the oven. So 350, middle rack for just about, I'm going to set my timer for 35 minutes. Okay, Google, set a timer for 35 minutes. Didn't hear me. Okay, Google. Set a timer for 35 minutes.
All right, 35 minutes.
So I'm going to come back and check it in 35 minutes and check it, see if it's brown. If not, I'll let it go for a few more. All right, we'll see you when it's done. Okay, I checked it at 35 minutes. I wanted it a little bit browner, so I put it back in the oven for another 5 minutes and we should be perfect. Oh, that's hot. My glasses are all seamed up so I can't see it. So. But, yep, that's golden brown and delicious. All right, you want to let this kind of cool down for about 5 minutes? Because if you break into it now, it's just going to be fall apart or fall apart all over the place. You know what I mean? All right, so we're going to eat shortly, hopefully, because I'm hungry. We're back, and we're having dinner. All right, let's dig in. Which one you try it first?
Oh, they both look so good.
They do. They smell delicious. That smells like
the
butter.
candy, yeah.
I'm gonna go with the kid. It smells like butter and cinnamon
Mm.
and. Delicious.
It's good. Delicious, yeah.
Again, if you haven't ever made candied yams because you thought it was difficult, it's not difficult.
It melts in your mouth.
Yeah. Well, the ones in the can are good. They really are. Don't compare with when you make it yourself. All right, how about we try the soufflé? Or what I call it, casserole.
That's good.
That's just delicious too.
Delicious.
A little bit more savory than the candy yams, but I love it. Like I said, I've done this several times for Thanksgiving dinner, and it's always been a big hit.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Delicious. Well, excuse me. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching us make this. I hope you make it yourself. If you do, let us know. And remember to remind me to buy me new range for Christmas. Maybe next year. All right, that's all I have to say.
Yes, please like and subscribe. And check out cherryhillhomecooking.com. And don't forget to hit that notification button so you know we've got some new videos coming out.
Mm-hmm.
We just try to do one once a week.
Yep.
Well,
Oh, the
see you in
food
the next video. Whoops.
They're having chicken tonight. Just fried chicken. We don't eat fried chicken all that often, but this is fried chicken from Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop is a national brand, so I think no matter where you're watching this, there should be a Stop and Shop in your area. I don't know if they make the chicken the same everywhere, but we actually really enjoy this fried
Yeah.
chicken. All right, ciao.
Bye.
Mm.